1, Ron Melvin. People who need people. People who need people. Contestant number 1, Ron Melvin.
People who need people are the luckiest people in the world. Barbra Streisand sang that many years ago. You ever notice your friends? They come in all sizes. They may have different types of wealth, different types of education, but they're your friends. And you together, you have memories and times together, and you know what? You don't see them any different. They're all the same. Every last one of them becomes the same. It is only when you start to look at their differences that you find that they turn out to be different. Madam Contest Master, Toastmasters and friends, have you thought about that? I'd like to share with you a couple of stories. The first story is about a woman, quite wealthy, downtown doing a little bit of shopping. She had quite a few bags from one of those upscale stores, and she was headed back to the station. As she walked into the train station, she noticed that the clock gave her a little more time. So she went back out to have a cup of coffee. She walks into the cafe, she puts her bag in one of the booths, goes up, grabs a cup of coffee. Hi, okay. She grabs the pie, she goes back, she places them on the table, realizing she does not have eating utensils. She goes back and eating utensils, and when she returns, there's this scruffy old man sitting in her seat, one step away from a street person, and he was gonna eat her pie. Well, she sat down in that seat and she grabbed that pie and pulled it toward her. He pulled it back. She pulled it toward her. She pulled it back. He pulled it toward him. He took a piece, put it in his mouth. She pulled it toward her. He took a piece, put it in her mouth. He pulled it back, took a piece, put it in his mouth. The next thing you know, they went back and forth until there was no pie. As it was over, he looked at her. He picked up the cream, looked at the coffee. She nodded. He put some cream in the coffee. He picked up the sugar, shook them, put it in, mixed it up, and they began to pass the coffee back and forth until it was over. At that point, she realized, oh, my train. She grabbed the handbag. Out she ran. She got to the station. My bags! She had to run back again to get her bags. As she ran back to get her bags, she ran in, and where were they? Where was the man? Oh, there's her bags. She goes to pick them up, and that's when she realizes there's a piece of pie and coffee. She had sat down at the wrong table. Let me share another one with you, folks. This one happened to me. I'm from Minnesota. I know what you're thinking. I didn't know there were black folks in Minnesota. Well, there aren't now. I left. Now, I'm telling you that it's not real. But what I want to tell you is that I like Texas blues. And the group that I love best is ZZ Top. Well, ZZ Top was coming to Minneapolis. I lived about 80 miles away. I drive up there, I go inside the place, and here it is in the stadium that they play basketball. I have the best seat, 7 to 10 rows up from the bottom, sitting just about in the middle where I can see the stage to my left. Everything was fine until I realized there's no people of color in here. No problem, I've been in Minnesota a while. So as everything goes on, the announcer says, we have 33,000 people plus. I'm thinking, plus me. So anyway, ZZ Top comes out, does one great show. Then there's an intermission. Well, the second act was Lynyrd Skynyrd. Lynyrd Skynyrd played Southern rock. Not quite my thing, but I know the songs. So I sit down, and he comes out, and the crowd is going. love his music. After the first song, he says, we're not going to have any of that rap music in here tonight. Uh-oh. That's when the largest Confederate flag I'd ever seen in my life unfurled from the ceiling down to the floor, went from one end of the stage to the other stage. I felt, oh my God, as they have a Civil War flashback, I'm a dead man. Well, they jumped up and he started singing Sweet Home Alabama. The people went wild. They jumped up and started swaying. Daddy taught me when it won't do it, the Romans do. I jumped up and started singing, Sweet Home Alabama. That's where I wanted to be. Next thing I know, we shoulder to shoulder. Sweet Home Alabama. About then, when they introduced me to their little friend, Jack Daniels. That's where I wanted to be. Folks, I had one of the best times of my life. When it was over, they shook my hand and hugged me and said, we hope to see you at another one of the concerts. You know, folks, I realized then that the thing that held me back that night would have been me if I hadn't been part and let them be part of my life. I have a memory. That's also a friend. This year, this past bike week, I rode my motorcycle with my good friend down to the race, the Speedway. We went to a barbecue given by Kawasaki. On the way out, we made a left turn to go to 95, and my friend Bruce was struck and killed right there. I don't have Bruce anymore, but I have the memories. I have the memories, folks. They become the friends when the friends are no more, because friends do go. So, maybe I can take another quote instead of Barbra Streisand. Let's go back to Clint Eastwood. Remember Dirty Harry? You know what he said? I'll change it a little bit. He had a weapon. I'm going to use friends. Well, Toastmasters, do you feel lucky? Well, do you? Well, if you feel lucky, you've made my day. Contest message.